Breaking new developments on a story we brought you a few weeks ago. The State Department accused of intentionally editing an exchange from our own James Rosen with then spokeswoman Jen Psaki to possibly cover up deception by the Obama administration on its Iran nuclear negotiations. Now here's the edited version.
There are remaining concerns that we have, as you all are familiar with, whether it's their involvement in support of the regime in Syria or humanitarian issues, and so that has not changed that.
The Obama administration says we...
See that white flash there in the middle? And here's what actually happened.
James, I have no new information for you today on the timing of when there were any discussions with any Iranian officials.
Let me try it one last way,
Okay.
Jen, and I appreciate your indulgence.
Sure.
Is it the policy of the State Department where the preservation of the secrecy of secret negotiations is concerned to lie in order to achieve that goal?
James, I think there are times where diplomacy needs privacy in order to progress. This is a good example of that.
So in that white flash, roughly 8 minutes of video was cut out, including the part when Psaki admitted that sometimes the press needs to be misled to accomplish administration goals. Now, initially, the department blamed the glaring omission on a glitch, but today, a complete reversal. Here's spokesman John Kirby.
There was a deliberate request, that this wasn't a technical glitch. This was a deliberate request to excise video. And as I said, I said it this morning to the staff, I don't find that to be an appropriate step to take. So again, my focus is going to be on the future and making sure that that we have the right rules in place to make sure it doesn't happen again.
You know, James, our chief Washington correspondent, is back with us now with his reaction to the admission. James, what made Admiral Kirby finally come around and admit to what they did?
A, the facts. B, the fact that Admiral Kirby himself is a stand-up guy. Look, Admiral Kirby and I have gone at it in two different briefing rooms at different times, both the State Department and the Pentagon, and we've had our differences in that setting. But he acted like a stand-up guy here. He recognized that this was very improper, and he launched an investigation to determine how this happened. He took it seriously. The Office of the Legal Advisor at the Department of State got involved in this, and that's a measure of how seriously it was taken. So I commend the Admiral for his actions here.
All right, Greg.
James, so someone made this phone call, and my question is, do all roads lead to roads?
Wait a minute, I see what you did there.
Yes.
I think that we don't know who it was that demanded that this video be edited this way. The person who fessed up within the State Department to having made the editing deletion at the request of this unspecified person said they can't remember who it was. I think that's probably doubtful. If you remember being asked to do it, you have probably a very good chance of remembering who asked you to do it. But in any case, we may learn more about this, and I hope people will follow up at the White House, where Jen Psaki, who was also prey to this editing deletion, is now the White House Communications Director.
Right. Fail your way up.
That's interesting the way you put that. You think she was prey to it. I mean, gosh, people might be suspicious of whether Jen Psaki was involved with this. But James, I'm curious about the probe, because I agree, Admiral Kirby looks like a stand-up guy in this moment, but it's been referred to the Office of the Legal Advisor. At the same time, Kirby says there's no ground for a formal investigation. He says there are no rules that govern this kind of administrative decision. So why, if this was done, then, is it in the hands of the Office of Legal Advisor? It would look to me like, gee, that they would determine if someone broke the law.
I'm not an attorney, Juan, though I do occasionally take relish in playing one on television.
Thank you.
I will say that probably there are laws on the books that make it a crime to doctor official government evidence of some kind. But I think reading between the lines, what Admiral Kirby is saying is we're at a point where we cannot definitively say who made this order, who issued this order. It's 3 years in the past, so we're going to just let it be, albeit with the proviso that he's going to put in place procedures so this doesn't happen again. But as I say, I think there will be further investigation of this, if at least by other news organizations.
All right, James, let's go to Dana, who has some experience in what goes on behind the scenes there.
I think you're being really kind, James, and I think that their explanation falls well short of acceptable because, one, it is a violation of the Federal Records Act. It has to be. And that's yet another Federal Records Act violation that the State Department is dealing with right now, at least the accusation of, and the State Department's IG saying that Hillary Clinton should not have had the private email server set up because it was a way to get around the Federal Records Act. So, one, that's a problem. Number two, it had to be a political appointee who made this call, because whoever the person is, the civilian, the bureaucrat that said, I will do this order, would never do that unless it came from somebody very powerful. So I do hope that they follow up, because this would be absolutely an unacceptable explanation if it were a Republican administration. They need to be held to account for it.
Well, on that point, I've had a number of State Department beat reporters, colleagues of mine, people I know for years, already calling me and emailing me and giving me their suspicions as to exactly who issued that order. And one of the, without going into those names because it would be unconfirmed, one factor that has led people to focus on different people is the fact that if this person who issued the order would still be employed by the Department of State. And
or
therefore,
elsewhere in the government.
Right, and that would serve as a...
They could figure this out in about 5 minutes. So when they say that we're not going to look into it, we're going to look forward, that's not, I think that that's unacceptable. And I think that really you could find out in 5 minutes, if you're Admiral Kirby, find out who it is and come clean with it.
Okay. James, hang in there. Now let's bring in someone who doesn't play an attorney on TV, who is actually an attorney on TV, KG.
This is true. I find them all guilty, James, just so you know. I want to prosecute them individually and repeatedly. This is very obvious that they know exactly who did this and who made the call, just like they know who pushed the video for Benghazi. But it just seems that over and over again they can engage in this duplicitous behavior. And I'm left thinking, I wonder if you have even thought about some other instances where perhaps we should go looking for some, quote, glitches where tape is missing, because they seem to have this unique relationship with you where things like this seem to, run amok. Tape is missing, you ask the tough questions, and then they tried to hide it.
I definitely have not suffered from a lack of attention from the Obama administration over the 2 terms. I grant you that. Look, I think this is a significant moment insofar as we have the United States government essentially admitting here that its spokespeople lied from the State Department podium, that they then admitted that from the State Department podium, and then tried to cover up that admission by deleting the official archive of this material. And so I'm honored to play some small role in holding our public officials to account, and we'll see if this is the end of it.
I happen to believe I know who made the call to edit that. It's Katie Couric. They wanted a dramatic pause.
It was her producer.
She's been after me for years. For years she's been persevering. With
James, I have a hunch this story is going to resonate, and we'll be talking about a little bit more about it tomorrow.
James.
Thank you very much, James.